Alice smirked and directed a scornful gaze my way as she uttered, "Thanks for quitting." I simply maintained a silent stare in response to Alice's taunt. Eric, appearing rather satisfied, chimed in, "It's about cutting labor costs. We don't need someone who exploits overtime pay at our company." A week passed, and my phone kept ringing with calls from the company. As soon as I answered, the president's voice came through, questioning my identity. Mockingly, I responded, "I am Lily Johnson. I turned 57 this year and have been working at this company for 34 years since graduating from college. Our company specializes in providing administrative support services, such as handling clerical work for clients, particularly appealing to busy company presidents who lack time for such tasks. I belong to the tax department, managing 40 clients, a responsibility that keeps me occupied despite delegating some tasks to a part-timer. Yet, I must maintain a facade of strength. Many of our clients have faced hardships, and seeing them persevere instills in me a determination not to falter. Lately, I've been troubled by the behavior of my colleagues, Eric and Alice. Eric, 5 years my junior and now the head of the tax department, has adopted a condescending attitude towards me since his promotion 3 months ago. What used to be polite exchanges have turned into sarcastic remarks and complaints. Alice, Eric's assistant, also joins in, criticizing my work efficiency and mocking my position. Despite their harassment, I remain steadfast in my dedication to both my regular duties and the additional workload imposed by Eric and Alice. They continually berate me for working overtime, failing to understand the reasons behind it. For instance, just yesterday, Eric dumped a pile of client files on my desk, expecting me to handle them without considering the workload I already had. In the face of their antagonism, I persevere, silently bearing the weight of their unfair treatment while maintaining professionalism and commitment to my job. When I laid eyes on the pile of files, a shiver ran down my spine. "These all have deadlines this month, right?" I muttered in bewilderment, but before I could comprehend the situation, Eric was already making a swift exit from the office, leaving me to grapple with the mounting workload. "I'm heading out, take care with that," he called out, his departure abrupt. Alice, trailing behind him, couldn't contain her laughter, her mocking tone echoing through the office. As I sifted through the files left on my desk, a sinking feeling settled in the pit of my esericak. To my dismay, some of these files were Alice's responsibility, adding an extra layer of complexity to an already overwhelming situation. It dawned on me why Eric had been relentless in his harassment. They wanted me out, and they wanted it fast. With my extensive experience and deep knowledge in taxation, I posed a threat to Eric's authority. It wasn't just about competence. Eric's oily demeanor and preference for young female colleagues made his motives all too transparent. Alice's role in the harassment puzzle became clearer. She sought to align herself with Eric's agenda, hoping to curry favor with him by undermining me. Eric held the reins when it came to evaluating the performance of the tax department, so it was in her best interest to sabotage my efforts. Despite the mounting pressure and unjust treatment, I resolved to soldier on, knowing that the only reward for my diligence would be unpaid overtime. Then came the fateful day when I was summoned to the president's office. Our company had recently undergone a change in leadership, thrusting the president's son into the role following his father's sudden illness. As I entered the room, the presence of Eric and Alice sent a chill down my spine. Their smirks hinted at treachery, though the reason remained elusive. "Lily, we'll need you to resign by the end of this month," the president declared, sending shockwaves through my already frazzled mind. "Excuse me, what do you mean?" I stammered, struggling to comprehend the sudden turn of events. The accusation hurled at me of overbilling for overtime sent my head spinning. Eric and Alice had spun a web of deceit, painting me as the perpetrator of fraudulent practices. "I haven't overbilled for overtime," I protested, desperation creeping into my voice as I attempted to clear my name. The president's skepticism hung heavy in the air, but without concrete evidence, my protestations fell on deaf ears. However, we can't continue to employ someone who works that slowly, the president asserted, his decision final. As I left the president's office, the weight of betrayal and injustice bore down on me. 34 years of unwavering dedication and loyalty amounted to naught in the face of baseless accusations and deceit. I was tired of fighting against a system rigged against me, tired of pouring my heart and soul into a company that failed to recognize my worth. With a heavy heart, I resigned myself to an uncertain future, the bitter taste of betrayal lingering long after I left the confines of the office behind. Having shouldered the burden of Eric and Alice's workload in addition to my own, I found myself nodding in resignation as I agreed to resign by the end of the month. It was a decision I had already made internally, though vocalizing it to the president felt like a confirmation of my fate. Glancing at Eric and Alice, their smug expressions betrayed their satisfaction, as if they had orchestrated my downfall themselves. Leaving the president's office, I couldn't escape Alice's taunting gaze as she sneered, "Thanks for quitting." Her words hung in the air, but I offered no response, merely meeting her stare with silent defiance. Eric echoed her sentiment, his disdain evident in his demeanor. "We're cutting labor costs. We don't need someone who exploits overtime pay in our company," he declared, a smirk dancing across his lips. As I observed the pair conversing animatedly, I mulled over the transition process. Despite the circumstances, I remained committed to ensuring a smooth handover for my clients. Drafting comprehensive handover documents became my priority, ensuring that no detail was overlooked. And of course, I bid farewell to each client personally, acknowledging the relationships I had cultivated over the years. Attempting to schedule a meeting with the president to bid a proper farewell proved futile, but I made sure to inform him of my successor through letters. A week after my resignation, I allowed myself a moment of respite at home, savoring the brief reprieve from the whirlwind of activity that had consumed me. However, my tranquility was short-lived as my phone began to ring incessantly, the caller ID flashing the company's name. Reluctant to entertain the incessant calls, I let them go unanswered, but they persisted. Curiously, calls from Eric and Alice's personal numbers followed suit, a desperate attempt to reach me through any means possible. Finally succumbing to the persistent ringing, I answered, only to be met with the president's urgent voice, demanding to know my identity. His panicked tone caught me off guard, and I couldn't help but laugh mockingly at his incredulous question. "Who am I?" "Just an unemployed lady," I retorted bitterly, feeling the weight of my newfound status. The president's urgency became apparent as he revealed the chaos that ensued in my absence, 50 calls to halt transactions with the company. The severity of the situation dawned on me, and despite my reservations, I knew I had to return. Arriving at the company, I was met with a sight that mirrored my own weariness. Eric and Alice, their faces drained of color, dark circles etched beneath their eyes. Their accusatory glares bore into me, their disbelief palpable as they confronted me with the fallout of my departure. As they recounted the avalanche of cancellations, I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt, though I knew deep down that I hadn't orchestrated any underhanded schemes. Yet, the realization dawned on me. The cancellations were likely inevitable, a consequence of the uncertainty that accompanied my abrupt departure. As I muttered my explanation, Eric's voice cut through the air like a whip. "So, you did do something, didn't you? Get to the president's office now." With his forceful command, I found myself being escorted to the president's office by Eric, his determination palpable. Alice trailed behind, a sense of urgency propelling her steps. Upon entering the president's office, I was met with a piercing gaze as the president addressed me directly. Eric wasted no time in accusing me, his words laden with accusation. It appears that Lily was involved in the cessation of transactions with our clients. We should not only make her resign, but also sue her for damages, he declared, his tone harsh and unforgiving. Alice chimed in, her argument measured yet vehement, as she urged for my dismissal and legal action. However, the president remained composed, his attention fixed on me as he sought an explanation for the sudden exodus of clients. Taking a deep breath, I gathered my thoughts and responded with clarity. Don't you understand? Our clients don't need us to manage their taxes. There are tax accountant firms that do it cheaper. Yet, they continued with us because I was here. Eric's retort was swift and cutting, his disbelief evident in his tone. What's with that attitude towards the president? And you think you're worth that much? Alice's taunts followed suit, her skepticism palpable. There's no way it has to be Lily, she insisted, her loyalty to Eric apparent. The president, however, remained contemplative, weighing my words against the accusations leveled by Eric and Alice. He acknowledged their adherence to protocol but emphasized the value of my personalized approach in delivering tax-saving strategies tailored to our clients' needs. Eric and Alice's adherence to the manual, while efficient, lacked the finesse and client-centric approach that I brought to the table. Then, the president revealed a surprising turn of events. Clients had directly approached his father, the former president, to negotiate about my departure. Their actions underscored the impact I had on both my clients and colleagues, a sentiment echoed by the former president. The realization that I could have ascended to a higher position had I not declined further compounded the president's regret over my resignation. Amidst the revelation, Eric and Alice's protests grew louder, their sense of injustice palpable. However, the president's stern gaze silenced them as he addressed their shortcomings in managing the tax department in my absence. The tide had turned, and their incompetence was laid bare before the president's discerning. Eric's face drained of color as the president addressed him with an air of disgust. I've heard from the employees, Eric. You've been pushing the preparation of your clients' declaration forms onto your subordinates, haven't you? Including Alice's work for many clients. The president's accusations hung heavy in the air, and next to Eric, Alice trembled visibly at the mention of her name. A damning revelation followed. Rumors circulating within the company suggested that Eric had been shifting his workload onto me before my resignation, even going so far as to label me a salary thief. The president's words cut through the tension like a knife, exposing the hypocrisy of Eric's accusations. It seems the roles are reversed, aren't they? He remarked with a heavy sigh. Eric struggled to find words of defense, his complexion growing paler by the second. Alice, too, appeared shaken as the president continued to unravel their misdeeds. There was a leak that you two are in a relationship, the president stated bluntly, his gaze piercing. But, Eric, you're married, aren't you? The revelation seemed to strike a nerve with Eric and Alice, their protestations feeble in the face of damning evidence. When presented with receipts for questionable dining expenses, Eric's silence spoke volumes. Alice's pallor betrayed her guilt as the president meticulously outlined their transgressions, neglecting their duties, inflating expense claims, and engaging in an extramarital affair. With a calm yet decisive tone, the president delivered the final blow. Their employment was terminated effective immediately. Eric and Alice's desperate pleas fell on deaf ears as they attempted to salvage their careers. Please, I'll retract the receipt claims, Eric begged, desperation evident in his voice. Alice, on the verge of tears, offered apologies in a last-ditch effort to avoid the inevitable. Observing their downfall, I couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. Eric, you were the one who got me fired. It's just karma, I remarked, my tone tinged with bitterness. What goes around comes around. Why don't you take some responsibility and reflect a bit, damn it? As Eric and Alice's world crumbled around them, I couldn't help but feel a pang of empathy. I haven't reported this yet, but there's more to Eric and Alice's misconduct. I confessed to the president, a smile playing on my lips. Their nefarious tactics, faking business trips, harassing employees, and manipulating workloads, had not gone unnoticed. And now, it was time to shed light on their insidious behavior. With a heavy heart, I watched as Eric and Alice were escorted out of the office, their reign of terror coming to an abrupt end. The truth had finally come to light, and while justice had been served, the scars of their deceit would linger long after their departure. The president's fury was palpable as my revelation unfolded before him. With a stern resolve, he vowed to cut Eric and Alice's final salary, intending to investigate past inflated expense claims thoroughly. Eric's pleas fell on deaf ears as tears welled in his eyes. "Please don't cut my salary. What will I tell my family if they find out?" he begged, his desperation laid bare. As the truth unraveled further, Eric's infidelity came to light, resulting in his divorce from his wife. The fallout from their affair extended beyond personal consequences, with both Eric and Alice facing claims for compensation in the ensuing divorce lawsuit. Eric's unexpected outreach to me, seeking persuasion to reconsider their firing, spoke volumes about the dire straits they now found themselves in. Struggling to secure new employment in an industry where reputation is paramount, Eric and Alice resorted to day labor at construction sites, a stark departure from their previous office roles. Alice's tearful calls for help echoed her regret, but the consequences of their actions were irreversible. Reflecting on Alice's plight, I couldn't help but feel a sense of detachment. "This is all your own fault, Alice," I reminded her bluntly. "You can't unring a bell. You'll just have to deal with the hardships." Her despair was a sobering reminder of the consequences of her actions, yet I held no sympathy for her predicament. Meanwhile, I embraced my newfound freedom from the constraints of office life, relishing in a more relaxed lifestyle. Despite the president's pleas for my return, I remained steadfast in my decision to forge my own path. Assisting at a friend's tax office provided me with a source of income while allowing me the autonomy to work on my terms. As I contemplated my next steps, the prospect of starting my own office loomed tantalizingly on the horizon. In my own space, free from the constraints of corporate bureaucracy, I envisioned a future where I could fully dedicate myself to serving my clients. This second chapter of my life held boundless opportunities, and I eagerly awaited